And today's topic is going to be model coordination in the cloud. So I'm going to be focusing on the BIM 360 model coordination module, of course. So this is, I don't know if I want to call it a replacement to the next level of essentially BIM 360 glue, right? So if you're familiar with BIM 360 glue, that's essentially what this is. So I just want to start again with just the BIM 360 platform so you kind of understand the ecosystem of how all this fits together. So of course we have the Autodesk Forge. That is the programming interface language, open source language that Autodesk has created to base all of its BIM 360 tools created in, and it's also been designed, of course, to able to interact with outside third-party applications meant to be open source. So that way, all the data for a project can be stored in one place, and then we can pull that data out, analyze it, understand how to use it, understand how it interrelates with other aspects of our construction process or design process even. So these are kind of all the main tools that are currently in the BIM 360 environment. There are a few others kind of on the periphery there, of course, as well, that still exist in BIM 360 Cloud, but these are the primary kind of construction solution tools right now. So of course we have BIM 360 Docs is the foundation. That's the data repository for everything. So regardless as to which tool we're using, all our data resides in this one common place. So all the modules basically are built on top of that. We have, of course, BIM 360 Design for Revit collaboration. We have BIM 360 Build for field collaboration or field management, and that would be even the architects could use that for construction management. It's a field construction management tool for whatever aspect that you're in. And of course, what we're going to focus on today, of course, is model coordination. So where does that all kind of fit in? So you see here, if you look at docs, that spans the whole process, right? That's your document repository. And then you have BIM 360 Design for the Revit collaboration and such. And then you have model coordination, which is what we're focusing on today during that kind of pre-construction area. And then we have Build, of course, which is construction execution. And then Building Ops is basically for work order management, essentially facilities management on a light level, at least on the facility side. So again, what we're starting with, of course, today, though, is the BIM 360 Docs environment here. So that's the foundation, the data storage for all these things. So this is the important part here, is that data storage there. So I just want to briefly just kind of go through the BIM 360 Docs environment here, because again, this is the foundation for all the tools, all the things in the BIM 360 environment. So again, this is where we're storing files, storing things from the project, and so on there. It becomes that single source of truth, and that's really the most important slide here, is the fact that this is that kind of single source of truth for the project, where we're keeping all our files, all our design files, and things like that. And then we, of course, have control of who can access things, publish, view, edit, and control these things, version history, all those things. Of course, access in the field, mobile access, 2D viewer, and so on, get properties of our objects, all those things. And we could do markups, issue management. Issue management will be important here, reports, and so on. So I just wanted to go through that briefly just to mention that's kind of the foundation. So now what we're talking about here, of course, is model coordination, because I really want to make this a little bit more technical too, and hopefully you get some more value out of it than just a sales presentation here, which is not what I'm trying to do today. So we are talking about BIM coordination here, essentially clash coordination. That is the main function of the model coordination module in this environment. It's meant to focus on clashes, coordinate, and stop these things before they become issues, right? So kind of the traditional workflow is kind of complex here. We have trade contractors, VDC BIM managers, architects, design teams, and we're sending models, and then the manager of the project has to kind of receive the models and update them in Navisworks and then pull them together and then set up and run clash detection, review the clashes, generates the reports, and then it has to manually distribute those reports to everyone on the team. And there's different ways to resolve it, and they're using email and phone calls, and they're trying to get all these clashes resolved, but no really easy way to track it. So obviously the struggles with this approach is you have one individual as a bottleneck. He's putting all the models together, mitigating hundreds, if not thousands, of clashes that they have to deal with. and it makes it very hard for that person to cope with those volume clashes, and then things just basically slip through the cracks, unfortunately. So that sometimes you just ignore things that are too minor that you feel that maybe are minor, but maybe they're important. Then you have siloed information. Everyone's working through a process separately from each other. So all the information, they're all using maybe their own mechanisms for clash coordination and checking things, and it's slowing things down. There's all types of processes in place. They have their own systems for managing these, and so on. And of course, time is money, right? The coordination process is lengthy. Lots of schedules are being affected by this, and project schedules right now are getting tighter and tighter, mainly because a lot of other people are using these types of tools. So they're kind of expecting these things to become quicker and take less time. But every time now a new model is distributed, right, the BIM manager, whoever, has to take all these files, kind of recombine them together, check them for issues again, and then rerun clash reports, and the process keeps happening over and over again. And also, all these different processes require specialized software. Usually these people really require specialized skill sets to use the software. It doesn't mean that they're not good programs, but it does require very specialized knowledge in order to use them, right? And if everyone wants to take a look at this, then it's hard for other people who aren't necessarily experts in this type of software. If they want to see these clashes and understand them better, it's harder to communicate that to them. And so again, everyone needs to have access to these specialized software packages. And of course, the trade partners, the subcontractors, usually they're not in all the trade coordination meetings. They kind of left to work on their own quite often with their own tools and such, and they adjust their own scopes of work and communicate that with the trade partners as much as they can, but they don't have much time to update the models and so on. So with BIM 360 model coordination, it greatly simplifies the workflow. So we have trade contractors, BIM managers, VDC managers, architects, design teams, uploading models into one single location, BIM 360 docs. So again, automatic or single source of truth. The software automatically does the clash detection. You don't have to set up too much really for this to happen. Then you can view the clashes. Everyone can view the clashes that has access. Then you can say, is this clash something I can resolve in the model quickly? Yes, I do that. Re-upload the model, check the clashes again. If it's something that I have to ask others about, I can make that clash an issue, assign it to someone, discuss this in a meeting, get it resolved, upload a new model, go through the clash process again to see if that clash has been resolved. But the key here is we have now one place for everyone to go and do this. It's a very simple interface, so it's very easy for everyone to do it. There's no specialized software to install or maintain. There's basically just that BIM 360 portal that you have to work in. So the first thing that you do in the BIM 360 environment here is you create what we call coordination spaces. And all that really is a folder in the BIM 360 environment where you're going to store your project models, and that's it. So nothing more than that. It's fairly straightforward. So right here, I'm going to pop into the software now because again, I want to make this a little bit more practical here. So let me just go ahead and get into my, bear with me for just a second there. Just need to get out of my PowerPoint and pull up my web page right here. And we'll get into and log into BIM 360 Docs, or just log into the project essentially here. So within my project, I'm going to designate a location that I give permission to the subcontractors and everyone to upload the models. So I see all the folders. So I have a project coordination model folder here. I'll go to permissions for this, and I'm going to, for this folder here with the permission settings, I'm going to control who can get into this folder. So maybe I want to, add in my MEP subcontractor, right? So I go MEP here, and everyone from that company I want to add in. I also want to add in my structural company here. So I'll select my structural company instead of individual names. I can just do companies here, right? And I can give them a permission level of, view and upload here, or view and download, so they can view and come into that folder, and I'll add them in. So now they've been given that access to that workspace as well. And maybe I want to also actually, I need to have them upload files too. So I'll have them come up and upload the files as well. So now they can go ahead and upload into that folder. Then what I need to do as a project manager here is I'll go into my admin and I'll tell it, where is my model coordination space? What folder am I using to create clashes and things like that? I can create several locations for that. But in this case, I'll go to model coordination. And then you hit create. And it would show you your folder structure here under plans. And again, these have to reside in the plans area of BIM 360. And I would select a folder that I would want to use. In this case, the coordination models folder. I would set that, and I would pick that folder as the one that I want to use for my models. I would hit create and create that as a space where I want to keep my coordination space here. So I just give it a name. Let's call it model coordination here. You pick the folder you'd want to use and you hit create, and it creates that as an available coordination space. Now that that's done, the different partners would basically upload all of their models into this environment. So this is important here too under model, the model coordination. Currently what it supports is Revit, DWF, IFC, and AutoCAD 3D files. So those are the only types that are supported in this environment. So again, if you have some other format, almost all the other 3D programs out there can at least export into IFC. And then those can be brought into this process. Or of course, Revit natively, of course. So in the case of Revit that I'm going to focus on here, this is an important thing here too. So what I've done here is I've uploaded my model with just an architectural view, an MEP view, and a structural views, right? So I have models I've uploaded with just individual views in them. So that's important that when you're in Revit, what you can also do, for instance, is create maybe just an MEP view only without electrical or a structural view or whatever, right? So you would go in and you create different views, maybe different groupings even. So I could have just ducts, then I could have one just for pipes, I could have one just for plumbing, so I could have hydronic piping and plumbing piping, electrical, it could just be the cable trays or cable trays and conduits and equipment. Another one could just be lighting. So I create different views in Revit for those coordination spaces that I have. So that way, as I'm working in my model, these views are automatically separating themselves out. Then under collaborate here, you want to go into publish settings. So you might have a coordination publish settings right here. And then I'm going to come into the coordination. So you just basically create a space. It's like creating a printing sheet set. And I would come in here, I want to see all the views and sheets in the model, and I want to make part of this my special 3D views. I have MEP and structure, or just plumbing is actually a more relevant one, right? So I might have a plumbing one and an MEP only or HVAC only, depending on what I want to basically create. So I pick, very specific 3D views that I want to use. So here's my MEP only view, and I have a plumbing view only, and I have an electrical view only, and so on. So with those 3D views in here, those are the ones that when I save this will then, when I put this Revit file and upload it into BIM 360, it will extract these 3 views essentially as 3 independent models. They're still from the same model, but it's basically creating views, if you will, right? So that's what you should do on the MEP side, is you would probably go in here, and what I would recommend is to create a view for each of your kind of systems, depending on how you want to break it up, how you want to clash it, right? If I want to be able to clash my ductwork with cable trays and then also with conduits, I might create 3 groups, a conduits group, a view, a cable tray group, and then a duct group, right? And I could create 3 different views here. Once I've created those views in Revit, I would select them here and just select coordination and hit the checkbox there. So when I save this, I upload this into BIM 360, those are the 3 views that it will create in the collaboration space into the folder. So now I would take the Revit model and simply upload it directly into this environment here. It's as simple as that. It would then process that, see that I specified 3 views, and all 3 of those views would show up here. So that's how we get the models into that space. So that's the kind of the first step, right, is getting that model into that space. Now that I've done that, let me just continue this here. So we've uploaded those models for coordination. We've uploaded them into the space. So the next thing we can do is we can view the 3D models. We can see the clashes, things like that. So we can get around, we can look at clashes, create issues, all these things. We can save the views. We can collect different models and make it easier to get to combination of models and things like that. So let's go ahead and pop in here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my module selector. And here, if I've been given access to this by the project manager, I'll have my model coordination button here. So I select the model coordination module. So as you can see, it's already kind of processed it. It sees the 3 models that are in here. Now there's different ways to filter this. If I have other people who uploaded the model, I could filter this by, my models only, all the models. I'm the only one that's uploaded anything, so I don't have much to filter by here. Only show me models that are clashing with my model. So someone may have uploaded another model, but maybe nothing in that model is actually clashing with my stuff. So I won't see that one. I'm only going to see the models that are relevant to me. So these are just the different filters, or I can just filter it here. If I have 20 people uploading models, I could pick the person that I want to see the models for, or I could select only show me models from a certain company. That would be available here, and so on. And again, I could choose a date that the models were uploaded if that's what I'm looking for. So there's just different ways I can filter all this. So these are the models that it's seen inside of the model coordination space. You can see there's a project coordination models folder. If I had more than one folder designated for this, I would see them listed here, and those would be different spaces. So here I have the number of clashes that I have in each of these models. So you can see the total number of clashes. The clash detection's already done. I just have to put the model in the folder. It automatically does the clash detection. So I can look at clashes here. So these are all the active clashes that are in the model. Then I also have assigned and closed clashes as well. So on this first matrix here, this is one way to get to your clashes. So this shows you all the models, and then you just pick, you follow the matrix over. So I would want to look here for structural versus MEP. So right here, I can see that between the structure and MEP model, it's going to have 41 clashes. So I can click on that, and it takes me to the clashes. And you see that that was automatic. I didn't have to set a clash up. If I put things in there, it just automatically does all the clashing. I'm already done with that part. So because I started and went over from the structural one, it's going to use that, and that's where it's starting to group them by. So it's structuring the clashes in this case based on what is interfering with the structural elements. So you can see right here, there is the model, and I could do this at an object level, a system level, a type name, but object is more common there. So here are all my clashes, right? And you can see that the floor has 2 elements clashing with it here, or this basically the floor and this duct right there. If I look at this structural section right here, I can see what's clashing with that right here. So I can expand that, and I can see, that this duct is hitting that structural element. So I can keep going through each of these clashes. So remember that now it's grouped by the structural element. So this bar joist here has 2 ducts that are basically clashing with it. So there are 2 clashes with this element. If I expand this, I see the individual elements. So I can select them here, so it will highlight them in the view. Or I can just pick the entire clash, and the entire clash highlights there. Another thing that I can do here is I can instead group it by MEP instead. So now it's going to reverse the grouping. So then I can look at a specific rectangular elbow and see that that elbow has 2 clashes with it here. So it's a bar joist and the floor in this case. If I go down here, look for other multiple clashes maybe. So this one has 21 clashes with this duct. So this duct is cutting through 21 elements. So it's having an issue with this bar joist right here. All these different bar joists are all interacting with this singular objects. So it's basically automatically grouping them, which is a nice feature. In other tools, you have to manually group things together to do this, and it takes some time to do that. Here, it's just a single click, group it by MEP or by structure, and you're done. So that's one way to basically get to the clashes, and it's very efficient. Another way to do that, if I go back here, if I close out of the view, and I go back to my models section here, I could just specifically say, and again, this would make a lot more sense when you have a lot of models broken up into such as just electrical, just cable trays, just ducts, right? You might want to pick just ducts and pipes as an example. So right here, maybe I just want to pick MEP and structure. I could do that, hit view, and then now that I have this view, and I know that I'm going to be coming back all the time to the MEP and structural view, to make it easier to do, I can hit save view, and I'll call it, MEP, and I'll just call it versus structure. Now, if I make this private, I'm the only one that can see the grouping. It's kind of a private grouping for myself. So that's nice too. You might have this unique ways that you want to look at things, but it may be not official ways for the whole company or everyone that's going to be in this environment. But in this case, I want everyone to have access to this, so I'll make it published and I'll save the view. So because this is a save view here, let me go ahead and I'll exit out of this. When I come into the project here, instead of having to remember, okay, what models was in that view again? I was MEP, was it architecture, structure, electrical? Oh, let me just go to my views. Oh, and here's one right here, structure versus MEP. Let me click on that. And it automatically loads those models. Great. So now that I'm in here, I'm in the right models, MEP and structure. Let's go to the clashes. So I have that nice save view, and now I can see all my clashes here. So again, how do I want to coordinate this by MEP or structure? I'll start with MEP. And again, we can start going through the different clashes. You just click on these here. See, it will take you to each of these clashes. So each one you select, it'll take you to that. Now, in some cases, for instance, there are certain clashes that aren't really, clashes, right? Like for instance, these light fixtures are going to interfere with the ceiling, right? Things like that. Or maybe this is flexible duct right here. This is an example. Let's see if I have any flexible duct here. That would be a good example for that. Not sure if I've already fixed all those by now. I think I actually did. But again, it might be a situation, if that was flexible duct, oh, you can just go around the column, right? It's just flexible. So let's say in this case that that's not really a clash because it's just flexible duct. So I can just go around, or go through the joist, the bar joist very easily. So I want to take this particular clash. Is this an issue or is it not an issue? I'm going to say it's not an issue. It gives you both the name of the element, and this is important, it gives you the Revit ID number. So if you have that Revit ID number and this is something that you need to fix in the model, because you have that number, if you open up the authoring model, in this case the MEP file, you can do a search for that element, find the element, adjust it, and then re-upload the model to avoid the clash. And it gives you the same information for the bar joist too. So in this case, though, I'm taking these two elements, and it's not an issue because in this case, the item can flex. And I can just say we can move the duct easily as it's flex. So I'm going to give full description as to why this is okay. And I hit OK. That clash is no longer a clash. It's been moved into the closed tab, the closed area. You see right here, it's been moved into the closed tab. So now I can continue on with my process. Okay, this is a clash. We're going to have to deal with this one. Okay, so if I select it here, I can either go into the element and just pick one element like that, or just pick the whole clash. See, I have one clash selected. I want to make this an issue. Okay, so again, because the duct is the leader of this, because I'm sorting by ducts, the clash marker that I'm going to put in has to go somewhere on the MEP object. So I'll just put that marker right about there. So there's our marker for a clash. Okay, so here's a description. One clash between these elements. If you want, you could change the description any way you want or leave this. And again, the key here, what I like, is that it does have these ID numbers, allowing you to find those elements in the authoring product, in this case, which is Revit. Okay, well, who is going to be responsible for dealing with this specific clash? So in this case, maybe it's myself, or I have someone else on my team, or maybe it's John Jones here. He's the MEP engineer. So it's his job to fix the clash. And I need him to get this resolved by Wednesday of next week. So I'm going to hit create. That clash was now assigned to that individual. That individual just got an email notification indicating that they have been assigned to the clash. So when they open that email, they'll hit a link. It'll take them to the issue. And they'll be able to click on the issue. And it will, as long as they have access to a BIM 360 design license, which is important here, when they click on that, that will take them directly to this here. And they will see the context of that. So again, that's an important thing I just said there, that the outside architect or the MEP engineer has a license also of BIM 360 Coordinate. Let's say I have another person on my team that does not have a license of BIM 360 Coordinate, but they do have a lesser license of Docs. So although I'm looking at this now through the BIM 360 Coordinate interface, if you will, if a non-user of that system simply is in document management, because issues are unified across all platforms, no matter where you create an issue, as long as you have the right permissions, no matter what module you have access to, you can see that issue. So when I go to issues here, and again, what you see is going to be based on your permissions. Typically, you'll only see issues that are relevant to you, that are assigned to you or your company. So when John Jones comes in here, he'll see all issues that are relevant to his company or to him specifically. So here's the clash that I just created. Okay, so I can go in there and see that clash. I can see the element that it's basically, coordinating with here. So I need to have that person, resolve that. Now, if someone here looks at it, so remember now that I am not in the BIM 360 coordinate environment, I'm in Docs. I can still see the clash or the notification of it. Again, if I select this, I will still see the clash element and I will see the clash marker, but I'll only see it in this case, the MEP file. I do not see it in the context of the clash. That's the one thing you have to remember. So whenever you do this, if you don't have a license of BIM 360 Coordinate, when you look at it through the Docs interface, you'll see the clash. I will see that this is clash 228. I see where in the MEP model it is, and I do have, though, the number here of the bar joist. Now, when I open this in my authoring software, I will do a search for duct, 2702279 there. You just paste that in, or I should say the duct, the 684 number there. I just paste that into Search ID in Revit. It will take me to the duct, and then as long as I have the structure linked in, which I would then, I see the clash. I can adjust this, upload a new model, and then the clash, and I can respond to this now. So I've now fixed this, let's say, and I've responded to the individual that right here. I'll select answered, and I'll say fixed or moved and uploaded new model. And I hit done. I now just got an email that John Jones finished that clash and he answered it for me. So then I'm going to go back into the system now. So again, I'll go back over here to, again, model coordination. In the model coordination environment, I'm allowed to see things in context, right? It makes it much easier. I'll go over here to views. And you can see these are the different views. I can open up MEP versus structure as an example. That's where I was working last. Just again, makes it easier to get to my combination of glues here of views. I'll look at clashes, or again, here are the issues. I can now see that that issue has been answered. Okay, so let me look in here. Now they would have uploaded a new model, so I would have seen the result that the issue mark is here, but the duct might be lower or moved up or wherever it needed to be moved in order to fix this issue, right? So I would see the change here and go, great, that has been updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and close it, and I'm going to say confirmed, closed. So that's just confirm closed. This person told me that. I hit done. That issue is now a closed issue. But if we look at clashes, that clash isn't in here anymore because that's either been assigned or closed. So now what we're looking at here are only active clashes that have not been dealt with in any way. So again, if you select this and either not an issue or make it an issue, it pulls it out of this list. You can see that there are 48 clashes here. Again, if I go through this list and maybe I'll find another duct that maybe it's flexible duct like this, maybe let's say it's flexible and it doesn't have to clash. I can select this, again, make it not an issue, and again, make it a item conflex. And I'll just say item conflex. And I hit OK. There are now 46 clashes. So that's gone down. It's gone because there were 2 elements involved. There's no longer 48 clashes. There are now 46. So I can keep going through the list till all my clashes are either not a clash, and then those will never come up again. Those objects are remembered as not clashing, and then the other objects will keep, as new clashes come up, they'll show up here, and I can confirm whether or not they're going to be closed or active. Once I make it an issue, it essentially becomes tracked. And again, you can, if you view that issue, if you have a license of BIM 360 model coordinate, you're able to see it in context, right? But if you don't, you can still see it. You just don't get to see it in context. But what's nice is I can share clashes with non-holders of the BIM 360 model coordination license. They just don't see it in that immediate context, but they'll see the clash, they'll be assigned to it, they'll see the object, and when they open it in the authoring software, they'll understand what that clash is. They'll be able to respond to that and still participate in that process without having that license of model coordination. So in many respects, you don't need a model coordination license for everyone on the team, just those who are managing the process, managing the clashing process. But the nice thing here is that someone is managing it like a VDC manager or BIM manager. They're just waiting for the other partners to upload the models. They don't have to collect them together. They don't have to create save views because they've already done that once. So it's done once, and as people upload things and respond to the issues, the system is all kind of automatic and coordinated now. Now again, here are all the clashes here. So right here, here's my active clashes, right? Now we can look at assigned clashes. So these are all the clashes that were assigned, right? The issues were created from this, but these aren't the issue list. This is the assigned list. And if I click on any of the assigned clashes right here, it will take me to that clash. So I click on the model. It takes me to the clash. So let's give it a second for it to open it here. And then if I pick this item right here, there's the actual issue that was generated from that. Now I can also go in here, say, even though this is a clash, maybe I actually want to basically say that this is not just a coordination clash, it's a mechanical system clash or something like that. You can create your own types, so you can search for them differently there. You can assign a root cause of this, meaning its constructability, design deficiency, whatever. You can customize these, so that way when you do a search under the issues, you can categorize your issue. Show me all my mechanical clashes or my mechanical issues, things like that. So it allows you to basically even create reports that will only show these types of issues, things like that. So again, really powerful tools, really easy to manage all of your clashes, issues. Here are the ones that are closed. So in this case, all these elements were closed. Now maybe this wasn't actually a flexible duct. We just realized it was a rigid duct, right? So I can select that item here. It gives you even a context, kind of like a screenshot of it here, which is nice. Oh, actually, that is a clash. I have to fix that. So I'm going to reactivate this. If I reactivate that, that will automatically become a clash again. And now I have to go to the active clashes and assign that to someone to fix. So it's right here, 2 clashes, because 2 elements are involved, have been reactivated. So under the active clash, that clash will show back up here, or if I choose to get to this via by going to the model first, sometimes that's easier. And especially having these same views is very handy when you have dozens and dozens of models, which is very common. in your clash coordination process. You might have other subs. By creating models, I can come in here, see how I can add additional models. So for instance, I could add to this because I only have the architectural one. I could add the architectural one to this grouping because I wanted to add more models to it or create new views if I wanted to. So again, this is kind of or I can update the current view if that's what I need to do. Maybe I've added something to it and I want to update the view, I can do that, or create new views here, of course, as well. Now, there's another thing, kind of a new release, a new kind of workflow they put in here. And again, it could be useful if you want to show something in context. The only thing I maybe don't like about this is it kind of takes this out of the standard review process. But let's just say here you happen to be navigating a view. So I'm going to navigate a view here manually, right? Or I know where a clash was. So I could do something like that too. Let's just do that just to kind of show that process here. So let's say, yeah, that's a good clash right here. So I have the clash highlighted right here. I'll just pick it. And then I'm going to go over here to models. So I'm still in that view, right? Now everything's opaque, so I can't see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to hide that element right there. So here's that clash right here. I just hid the roof, right? So remember that I'm just viewing the models now. I'm not viewing a clash. So I know that that's where the clash is. And for whatever reason, maybe I don't want to use the assigned option, right? I want to create a different, I just saw this. I don't want to use the clashing tool, right? I just saw this clash visually while I was in this view. And I wanted to share it someone in context with someone who doesn't have model coordination. So again, remember that now we're kind of stepping away from the standard automatic clash detection part. This is where I just happen to be navigating through a model. And this could be anything. In this case, it is a clash, right? So what I would like to do here is I want to create an issue from this. So I'll go down here to issues, or I can update the view, whatever. I mean, I want to update the view here with a different name. That's fine. I don't want to change anything here. I'm going to just pick these elements here because they're kind of highlighted. So I'm going to go to issues, and again, let me just hide the roof here. So the key here is I want to pick these elements. So they're already picked, and I create an issue. And I'll just put another, this is just a different issue marker, different from this one. That's the clash I found. So there's another issue marker I put here. I'm just going to call it manual issue, just so we understand it's different here. Nice spelling there. Manual issue. I can assign it. I'll assign it to myself and assign a due date and so on there. I could put location details. It's in the main building and it's in the plenum space. That's good. I have an owner. I have a root cause of the issue is design coordination, whatever. So remember that I had these elements selected when I put that marker in where it says new here. And when I hit create, when you are in the model coordination environment and you just manually, without link to it, an actual clash, create an issue where I just have to be randomly navigating the model and I have it certain things hidden and I selected these objects and I created an issue. What this does is it will put the marker there and someone can navigate to that. But if you look under attachments, it automatically creates a screenshot of anything that I had selected or anything that was in the view I was looking at. So what happens here, although this is not a tracked issue now, right? This is not issue 42, or I should say, it's a tracked issue. It's not a tracked clash. I just manually happen to see something in the model. In other words, I could go anywhere in this model here and just create an issue right here. I just saw something on the column. Again, nothing to do with a clash. When you create an issue in the model coordination space under views here, what will happen is when it creates the issue, it creates a screen grab of that. So when I go to document management, maybe I was looking in there and I saw something else and I just wanted to create an issue of it. It may not have been a clash. It may have been something else, anything, or it could have been just a clash, whatever. If I look under issues now, again, I'm someone else on the team and I just want to look at the issue. I've been given permission to see the issue, right? So I see the document that it's related to. Okay, so if I click the document, and again, I picked a structural element in this case. So when I go in there, this is again a non-BIM 360 coordinate user, just a docs license. They see that someone created an issue. There'll be an issue marker, and it will take them to the, where I pointed that element out, right? It was in this particular file right here in the structural file. So that's just the issue that I created, and that's fine. So back out here, you notice on the issue details, when I pick it, I have a nice screenshot. Oh, I get what they're talking about now. Now that makes sense to me. So this tool will automatically create a screen grab if you manually create just an issue in a view you happen to be in when you're in the coordination space. So that's a little confusing part. You have to understand that when you're creating that type of view where it takes a snapshot, it doesn't do it. I'd like to see this in the future. Maybe this will happen. I'd like to have it take a screenshot of the clash. That way, when someone opens up the clash who doesn't have a coordination model, they would see the context. So they don't yet. I feel that that might be something that's coming in the near future. But right now, if you manually create an issue while you're in the coordination space, it will automatically create a screen grab. And that only happens in model coordination. If you're just out in document management here and navigating a model and creating an issue somewhere in 3D, 2D, it doesn't create a screen grab, but it does remember the orientation, so it almost does the same thing. It's just a unique new tool that they just released. I think it was 2, maybe 3 weeks ago that ability came out, is that to get that screen grab anytime that you create a kind of a manually created issue, just happen to see something in the view while you're navigating that you feel like you need to create an issue from. So remember that that is unrelated to the clash resolution process, so just be aware of that. So in order to really see things in true context, you do need to have, I should say full context, you do need to have a model coordination license. And as long as you're in the model coordination area, whenever you view clashes here, they will always show in context, and that's key. So when I click here, I will always see the context of the clash. It'll show whatever models are in there and whatever is affected. There could be 3 models as part of this, but it's always basically 2 models here. So I can come in and see, again, that's just this clash with this duct right there, bar joist grouping, and so on. So that's it for my presentation. I think I've covered all the kind of key aspects of this. And think about that too. I've just did an incredibly complex process in just 43 minutes here. I was able to, in 43 minutes for an entire project, I identified all the clashes. I actually started resolving some of the clashes, assigning them to people, and turning off things that aren't considered a clash, that all this item can move. We're not going to be concerned with that. And I'm by myself, and it only took me 43 minutes to do that. If you look at the old process, that would have been a day. And every time new models come in, that's another day. For me, when a new model comes in, it's all done. The views are all created. I just can look at the new clashes and then see if, and then assign those to people, and I'm done. And anyone who has permission, no matter what company you're working for, if you're in that process, you can manage this. All right, so with that, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions.